I recently talked openly on the show about my struggle as a black woman to have to change my natural hair early in my career on Cityline to make myself, as my bosses said, more relatable and look a little less black. It was very isolating. I felt like I couldn't just be me. The story of black women and our hair is a big story. It's personal, so deeply rooted in our history. So I'm thrilled that Gold Series, My Hair, My Story, brought some powerful women together to speak honestly about their hair and the journey to rediscover their natural hair.
I didn't chemically straighten my hair until I was 14. So that's kind of old. But I remember when it was done and we were in the hair salon, how the hairstylist was like, "You're so beautiful." And I remember at 14 thinking, so was I ugly when I came in here? And now, because you did all this, like I was just like, I don't understand why now suddenly people are calling me that. And I remember going to school and everyone was like, "Oh my God, your hair, and you're so pretty now." And it's like, wow, this is really weird because I'm the same person.
I have to say, as a kid, I adored how my mom styled my hair. Every Friday I got a new special do. I had my little bubbles in my hair. I loved it. Once I got to the tweenie age and I started realizing that my peers in my class, they did things a different way. I wanted to have, you know, the Barbie hair kind of texture. That's where I started having issues.
Mm-hmm. It was another form of othering. Mm-hmm. And when you're a preteen or a teenager, you just want to fit in with your friends. As a woman now, I find that I'm definitely seeing natural hair in the corporate world, on television and magazines. And I'm so grateful that the younger generation is getting to see natural hair represented.
I want them to experience their hair by seeing it in different spaces, from dolls to TV shows, to commercials, to newscasters. I'm so happy that they are seeing that more and more for it to be even more prevalent in their lives. So I want them to continue to embrace it. Yes, honey.
I remember like being in school and, you know, that kind of question somehow pops up and you mentioned like, "No, I don't wash my hair every day." And it's like, what? That's filthy. That's dirty. How do you not wash your hair every day? You know what I mean? And that makes you feel bad. Like that makes you feel like you're doing something wrong.
We've experienced so much discrimination based on how we choose to present our hair. I think what we're having right now is folks are tired and folks are over it. And there also is this reclamation of like, my hair matters. And the way that it exists, it naturally matters.
Until you own the hair that grows out of your scalp, I feel like you don't fully become the woman that you're supposed to be.
Powerful story shared with so much truth and insight. So I'm really glad to be joined by Stephanie, Monica, and Dr. Cheryl to further this discussion. So Cheryl, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about the history of black hair. That's a huge question, but maybe touch some of the touch points along the way so we can see sort of how we landed here.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the history of black hair starts in Africa. Everything related to black people starts in Africa. And there, you know, our hair had a lot of meaning. It would signal whether you were married, single, your status in the community. And then through what's known as the Middle Passage and transatlantic slavery, when we came to the Americas, the division of labor in enslavement meant that if you were black and you were working in the plantation home, your hair had to mirror the people that you were working with, right? If you weren't in the fields, you would not have had time, just given the labor. So you would either cornroll your hair, you would wear your hair natural, or you would cover it with a head covering or some kind of headdress, which is also coming from Africa. As the centuries went on, there was this sentiment that when you got into the corporate world, like Tracy, you mentioned, or an institution of some kind, the literal house, you had to do the same thing. You had to wear the appropriate hair for that job or whatever you were doing. And so black hair, even if you yourself don't have an issue with your hair as a black woman, or you don't think it's political, it's always political because of the context for which we have to exist in this world that we find ourselves in.
Absolutely. And we're starting to see, I mean, I see the representation. We're talking about it here on Cityline. So things are starting to incrementally change in the right direction, but there's so much more work to do. So Monica, I'm going to go to you now. Your mom was a hairstylist, so I'd imagine you always had great hair. When did you decide to reconnect with your natural hair, and why was that an important transition for you?
Yeah, my mother did not play around. My hair was usually relaxed, flat ironed or curled, or braided with like 1,000 bubbles and clips. But, 10 years ago, I had this profound moment of self awareness in my mother's bathroom. And I was thinking a lot about the relationship I had with my hair at the moment. And I had decided to go natural because I never really got to see her, what my hair looked like without being relaxed, without being straightened, and what it looked like also under my care. And that process alone involved a lot of unpacking of the love and hate relationship I had with my hair, which was an immediate result of, being socialized and indoctrinated with the need to align with white beauty standards, right? So with the community development work I started doing, it was really important to unlearn some of the anti-Blackness many of us, including myself, had internalized when it comes to our hair. As Dr. Thompson mentioned, there is such a deep historical and cultural significance with Black hair. And to connect fully with myself, I needed to connect with my hair and love her and embody her magnificence. And now, 10 years later, I don't carry that same level of stigma and shame of what I choose to do with my hair. It's a strong part of my identity and an extension of my identity. It's art, it's rich, it's culture, it's history, and it's significant.
It's beautiful. Absolutely. Now, Steph, I know that you've had the conversation with your fiance about caring for your natural hair. Why was that important to you? And I'm sure it's a conversation that continues and has evolved.
Oh, absolutely. It's a definite important conversation that I had to have with my fiance, first of all, because he's Italian and German. So I'm the first, the only, and I will be the last Black woman in his, in his life in that way. So, there's a lot of, he doesn't know, and a lot that he didn't really experience when it comes to my hair. And we also met in high school at a time in my life where I was actively trying to erase that I had a lot of anxiety and I just didn't like my hair. So I was actively trying to erase my Blackness, to be frank. And I was very different at the many years later that we met than I was in high school. So I had to have that conversation with him that, that person that you knew before is not the person that you know now. And I'm still on that journey. 2 years into our relationship, he still hadn't really seen my natural hair. It was still something that I was hesitant to get into with him. And then, that changed over time, and we had to sit down and have that conversation because at that point in my life, I said, if you can't love me when, in my natural state when all the bells and whistles are gone, then what are we really doing this for? And it was a process that I had to kind of go through internally, but also with him and take him along the way.
Do you find that he's open to it, Steph? And I know the answer is yes, or you probably wouldn't be proceeding, but is he open to it? And what's difficult about those conversations?
I would say that what's difficult about those conversations may be the understanding. He'll never know what it's like, but he can try to understand. Mm-hmm. And obviously, until we, have kids and they go through it themselves, and he's there to witness it from the very beginning, he won't ever really kind of get a grasp for it.
It's a journey, and you have to know when to forgive yourself because, incrementally, I think we'll all be going through our own journey. So it's great to hear all of the stories. Thank you, Dr. Cheryl. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Steph. We will keep the sharing and the teaching going because it's important. Gold Series was created by Black scientists to develop hair care specifically for textured hair. So you can visit cityline.tv for more information on that.